intensive use that could go on that site. But the summary by Mr. Miller and Mr. Metz that we looked at the most intensive uses of both OP and CBL.
Point of clarification though on the deed restriction, Ron. Who would be the responsible party for enforcing that deed restriction?
The township has the right but not the obligation in its discretion, which means if a plan came in, then you could enforce that.
Okay. Plan for convenience.
Plan for convenience, yes, excuse me, sorry. Plan for convenience store came in, you could enforce
no
that.
point in being here this evening.
Correct.
You think maybe a title company might pick that up?
I think so.
I think so.
It's recorded, it's over record, it's very clear. So, and believe me, if we sell the property, it's going to be very clear to anybody that cannot occur there. So that's not possible.
Any other questions? No? Is there a motion that you'd like to make?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2019-16, rezoning a portion of the existing office park district to commercial park limited district.
I have a regular motion, is there a second? Regularly moved and seconded, we're on the question. Any on the question? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to close that public hearing, and I need to also make an announcement that we had an executive session that lasted for 1 hour covering personnel and real estate. And now we'll move on to public hearing number 2. Public hearing number 2. Yes, we sell those things later, and that's how we keep the taxes down. Well, probably wouldn't have got a lot for it, but.
See you guys. I should have made you go out when you realized you couldn't get in your car. Come back in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Very nicely done. So public hearing number 2 is a request to amend Chapter 27 of the Township of Hampton Code of Ordinance by adopting an ordinance with respect to eliminating the residential hotel use from the commercial general and commercial limited districts and permitting residential hotel use in only the office park commercial district. Request submitted by Hampton Township.
Mr. Chairman, I'll attempt to take the lead on this portion of the public hearing. At the request of the Planning Commission and subsequently the approval of the Board of Commissioners, this public hearing has been scheduled this evening. Currently, as you know, what's referred to as a residential hotel is permitted in 3 districts throughout the township: the Commercial General District, the Commercial Limited District, and what's referred to as the Office Park Commercial District. This recommendation for your consideration this evening would eliminate that use from the Commercial General District as well as the Commercial Limited District and proposes to leave the use in the Office Park Commercial location. The reason for that is that a developer could argue that at some point in time when this use was developed several decades ago, that if it's not referenced in a particular district throughout the township as a permitted use, they could argue that the use could be placed anywhere. So you can see that that would not be beneficial to the township or accomplish the intent. For the benefit of the board as well as the people in the audience, the Office Park commercial area within the Technology Parkway is limited to, as I indicated earlier, within 2,500 feet of the center line of an interchange for an interstate highway or freeway, which would in this case be Wardsville Road. So it would be a small portion of the Office Park Commercial District, and I don't find it likely that as long as the developer has owned that property and not pursued this use, that it would occur in the future. Happy to address any questions you or the audience may have.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah, no, just appreciate the staff's work on doing this in a timely manner. Again, it was brought up earlier about the Brambles West in terms of the whole issue with the residential hotel. We, as soon as that plan was finalized, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to happen to the best of our abilities here again. Now there is a chance, like you said, that we have to put it someplace. somewhere in the technology park, but I believe that this is the best manner here to ensure it doesn't occur.
Hey Nate, can you bring the mic a little bit closer to your mouth?
You bet.
Thanks.
You can get a close-up too.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Anyone else from the board? Okay, and everybody understands that you have to put it somewhere. If you don't put it somewhere, it creates all kinds of problems. Or somebody could come in and say, you didn't put it somewhere, so we're gonna put it wherever we want. And then you get into all kinds of litigation. It's better just to say, here's where it is, that's the only place you can have it. And we try to do that. I believe we've covered every legal use that's in the book, that it's somewhere in the township. You might not be able to find
Well,
a
again,
place to put it, but it's covered.
sorry, the use is currently permitted in this district, so it's the most logical way to eliminate the other two districts from this permitted use.
Right, and nobody else from the board. How about the audience? Anybody from the audience? Kathleen?
Hi. Can I just have one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the only area that's zoned office park commercial district, the technology parkway area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen.
The requirement to become an office park would mean that the developer would need to have over 100 acres of property for development. So at the time that the tech park was approved, the commercial office park use was permissible. So it would take up to 100 acres for someone else to come in and apply for that, and the likelihood is very slim. And so currently, to answer your question, this is the only location.
Thank you.
Still with the audience. Anybody else? Seeing none, is there nothing else from the board?
Hurry up, Nate, make the motion.
I think getting used to this microphone on this side here, John. Apparently it's not working as well as my old one over there. But
Everybody always gets.
can you hear better from?
I'll turn this one toward you.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2019-17, amending chapter 27 regarding residential hotels.
Thank you. We have a regular motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. We're on the question. Nothing on the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Congratulations. Staff. I'd like to close this public hearing, and now we'll move into the planning commission section of the agenda.
Thank you. The first item on our planning commission agenda is the preliminary final land development plan for BOC Community Credit Union located at Mount Zion Drive. We took this plan up at our last meeting, and so this will be a continuation of last meeting. If you, again, please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Good evening. I'm Anna Marie Sosong. I'm an attorney with Johnson Duffy in Lemoyne, and I represent Belco. There is a representative of Belco here if you have any questions specifically. At the last meeting, we had addressed most of everything.
Just real quick, you just give a brief overview for the audience members here that weren't.
Okay.
Here.
All right, you've got the project. This is a project to put a Belco credit union on a small, roughly acre-and-a-half size parcel on the other side of the intersection of the property that we were just talking about, the one that would be rezoned, the other side of Technology Parkway. We had requested, there's some variances, mostly related to the access easement, and we made some changes to the plan at the suggestion and request of the commissioners, so that this plan now, as it presents to the board, only has one ingress and egress road. You can see the property is peculiarly shaped, and the second ingress and egress actually was a little bit problematic and probably would create some accidents, people crossing back and forth over each other. So we've eliminated the second access. At the meeting last month, the request was made, there were several requests, specific requests made of Belco. One was to put a walking trail in, one across Mount Zion from end to end up to the Technology Parkway Road. The other one was to put a sidewalk running down Technology Parkway. And the third request was to address the continuing future maintenance of the existing stormwater detention pond. You can see it, it's at this corner on the property. It currently exists. Belco is proposing to handle their own stormwater, and there is a method there, and they will be responsible for that, but the commissioners asked that we come up with some kind of agreement to handle the existing stormwater pond that's there. So after due consideration, we have presented to Mr. Miller and Mr. Brennan both a couple of things. One is a drawing that showed the proposed walking path. It would be a bituminous surface as opposed to a 3-foot wide concrete. The existing conditions along Mount Zion, there's a lot of guy wires and a couple other things, and so to do an actual 3-foot wide sidewalk is a little bit problematic, but we can put in a macadam walking path in keeping with the walking paths that are throughout the rest of the park, same basic style. So that will give the employees throughout the park, they'll all tie together, so they'll be able to walk from, for example, the hospital through into the bank and back without walking on the roads. Belco is not able to put in the sidewalk that goes down along the Technology Parkway to Wardsville Road. The Belco proposed property does not actually go to the Technology Parkway property line, so we couldn't do it if we wanted to, because where you would want to put a sidewalk we don't own, or we wouldn't own. So we are not proposing to do that. And we have entered into, well, we will be entering into an maintenance and easement agreement with the existing owners of the property, Berkeley LLC, I think. I can never remember if it's an LP or an LLC, but Berkeley, the existing owners, they are going to assume the maintenance, continuing maintenance and upkeep of the existing stormwater detention area in perpetuity. It grants the township access to inspect. It grants the township, if need be, the right to go in and repair. Nobody seems to think that this is going to be a real problem because nobody's ever seen any water in this thing. But just in case, it's there, and we will be signing that when we do the settlement. Right now, it's drafted. Mr. Brenneman has reviewed it. We made, I think you probably saw the last change. We did some notice provisions, just so everybody would get notice and we know who to send what to. But that will be handled at settlement. It'll be an easement granted from Belco to the current owners. We're doing it that way. And the township is a beneficiary on that easement, so the township doesn't have any obligations, but you have a right if you choose to exercise it. So I think that we have at this point met at least as many of the requests of the commissioners as we've been able to do.
With that, Jeremy, do you want to speak your end here in terms of that?
I agree with Mr. Osam that all the comments, the majority of the comments have been addressed. There are some remaining administrative comments that still need to be addressed, but I see no issue with those.
Point of clarification, would that be deed or easement agreement be executed before you expect the plan to be recorded in the county? You mentioned it would be signed at settlement, so.
The way the easement is currently drafted is an easement from Belco to Berkeley, so that Belco would have to own the property first. So we will have to buy the property, and then at that closing, we will grant that easement. And we'll certainly provide Mr. Brennan with a copy.
But your expectation
And it'll be recorded.
is the plan would be recorded before that agreement is
Yes.
executed? And
Yes.
before the property is acquired?
Yes.
Okay. And my recollection regarding the safety of the traffic in internal movements, looks like it's a large improvement, and I think it also eliminated some of the stormwater management concerns with the site or
It
responsibilities.
did. It did, because of the reduction in the paving at the pointy end of the lot. There is some reduction in the overall stormwater that Belco will have to deal with, so that's a real positive as well.
Thank you.
And again, last month we went through a couple of these items, but number one, you worked with our staff here in terms of a smaller facility. Number one, you worked with us on the traffic flow to make sure in terms of pedestrian as well as the vehicular traffic on the pad, and then as well as the walking show. So certainly appreciate working through those issues with our staff, and then finally you're on the last item here in terms of the stormwater management. And now there's two items, again, two waiver requests. Now, last month's plan could be considered the preliminary plan maybe, and this month the final. But again, Jeremy, will you speak to the preliminary plan waiver and request and the grading within 3 feet of the property?
Yes, sir. This preliminary plan is well, staff supports the request for a waiver of the preliminary plan. This is a relatively minor commercial land development plan. If you recall, our ordinances previously automatically granted this to the right to final plan review the nature of some very complex commercial developments that are on a single lot. We modified our ordinances to require a preliminary plan. I was given the relatively straightforward and support the waiver request for a preliminary plan. The grading request is so that they can address some existing stormwater channels that come across or from Mount Zion Road into that existing detention basin. So basically, they're taking the opportunity to clean up a stormwater facility that does require them to grade within 3 feet of the line. So given that they're making improvements in an existing facility, we can also support that waiver request.
I have no further questions.
Any other questions from the board? Questions from the audience? Anybody have a question? If not, we'll prepare for a motion.
With that, I'll make a motion to grant the 2 waiver requests, land development ordinance 304.2 preliminary plan, as well as land development ordinance 507.5 grading. Second.
A regular motion has been seconded. Is there anything on the question? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.
And next, I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary final land development plan for Belco Community Credit Union located on lot 5A Mount Zion Drive. Second.
Regularly moved and seconded. More on the question? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Very good, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. The next item on our planning commission agenda is a request for consideration of a zoning ordinance text amendment to chapter 27, regulating signs on hospital and medical campuses. Request submitted by Penn State Health. Please state your name and your affiliation.
Yes, thank you. Michael Cassidy, attorney with Johnson Duffy and Lemoyne for Penn State Health.
Just a second, Mike. I just wanted to alert everybody that because of a potential conflict, John Gaspich is excusing himself from the room so he doesn't participate in the discussion or in trying to influence anybody by his very presence here. So anyway, it's a very, very good thing that he
If you wouldn't mind starting over there.
Certainly. Michael Cassidy, attorney with Johnson Duffy and Lemoyne on behalf of Penn State Health. We have submitted a petition to amend the township's sign regulations with respect to a proposed exterior signage plan that Penn State has developed for the Hampton Medical Center. In developing that plan, we found a few signs that would not be in compliance with the current sign regulations, and so we're asking the township to consider certain amendments to the sign regulations. And we're here tonight to ask the board to submit our petition to the Planning Commission for review and comment, at which time we come back to the board for a public hearing.
Thank you. Any questions for the board?
Just a clarification on that process, Mike. You're not requesting that the board schedule a public hearing this evening. So after the planning commission, you come back, advise the commissioners of the planning commission's recommendation, and then consider scheduling a public hearing at a future date.
That is correct. So depending upon the outcome of the comments from the planning commission, we would then come before the board to request a public hearing.
So the request right now is just send it over to the Planning Commission for their review and recommendation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there any other questions from anybody from the audience have a question before we move ahead? All right, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion to refer this item to the planning commission for review.
Regularly moved and seconded. More on the question. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We're also going to skip ahead, if you don't mind, to item 9B.
Yes, sir. So you may recall, as part of the original plan approval for the Penn State Hospital, there were certain traffic improvements required along Fortsville Road, the intersection of Good Hope Road, and the intersection of 581 southbound. As a result of those improvements, the developer has made submission to PennDOT and is required to amend the traffic signal permits for those 2 intersections. So with that, I ask for approval of resolution number 29-13 and 2019-39 and 2019-40 approving modifications to the traffic signal permit. The plans have been submitted to PennDOT, have been reviewed by our traffic engineer, so we support them.
And you may have said, Jeremy, but the resolutions and the plans mirror what was presented during the planning commission meeting and board of commissioners meeting in an effort to try and get those improvements approved by PennDOT.
Jeremy, could you just give a real layman's
the improvements, so the improvements include completion of a dedicated right turn lane off of 581 southbound, and a right turn lane that continues to Good Hope Road, call it Good Hope Road North, and a right turn lane for that, as well as the addition of, I believe there's already 2 left-hand turn lanes coming out of North Good Hope Road southbound. We'll be adding an additional right-hand turn lane on towards the road as well as through, and then timing and signals is appropriate.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience?
I do.
Please.
Hello, everybody. Dave Fish, 405 Lamppost Lane. I saw the plan for the changes on the township website.
Yes, sir.
And it's going to be just like 2 lanes coming off of 81 and going along Wordsville. And then what? Does it go up Good Hope and turn around? Or people who need to go down Good Hope towards Pinehurst, are they going to be able to go across? Or are they going to get stuck in that dedicated right turn?
No, it's very similar to if you picture the exits off of 81 northbound on Wardsville Road. If you were coming off of that exit and you wanted to make a left-hand turn to go to the giant Hampton Center, it's a very similar configuration as well. That configuration's been prepared by the developer's traffic engineer, reviewed by township retained traffic engineer, and has been reviewed and approved by PennDOT's engineers as well.
Okay, so there's not going to be like a little barrier preventing people from going across Wordsville?
No barrier.
Okay, all right, cool, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Anything else from the audience? Anything else from the board? I'm ready for a motion.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve resolutions number 2019-39 and 2019-40 for traffic signal monitoring.
I have a regular motion that's been seconded. One on the question.
I just said, I do not believe there's a barrier. I need to check the plan, but I'm pretty.
I don't recollect any.
I don't think there was a barrier there either. My
And
recollection.
Mike?
Wait,
It's my understanding that the dedicated right turn lane off the 81 South off-ramp onto Worksville Road is a dedicated lane that would allow traffic to flow directly west towards the Good Hope intersection and then continue a right-hand turn north or onto Good Hope Road and into the medical center. But there's no barrier on the right lane that would prevent traffic from merging onto Worksville Road and making a left-hand turn on Good Hope Road south.
And no barrier in the median.
No barrier in the median of Worksville Road,
Right.
but to the best of my knowledge, there's no
That's
median.
my recollection.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's right. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mike.